Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to what will probably be the biggest series I've ever worked on in my 10 years on YouTube. Yesterday, as you've probably read by the title, we are kicking off our all-new F1 2010 career mode. First of all, before I get into this, I'm going to make sure I leave a link down in the description below. This is on the F1 2010 remastered version of the game. Sadly, I didn't own it on PC before now. I want to be able to play it on a wheel. So yeah, there'll be a link to that down in the description below. The install is fairly easy, but you can't run the base game because of the way Windows Live worked back in the day. Of course, first of all as well, if you're watching this on my main channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button on Matt212 Retro. These first couple of videos are kind of going to use like YouTube's collaborate feature, but obviously the big majority of this series is going to be going up on that channel. But my goal is very, very simple with this series. I want to go through from F1 2010, which was the first real Codemasters F1 game, all the way through and try and win a world championship on every single title. Yes, it is a huge undertaking. If we say at an average of 3 seasons a game, we're probably looking at, what, 50 seasons, I think, which now I've said that out loud is slightly scary. We could be looking at about 1,000 episodes for this series. Now, it's not going to be daily or anything like that. My hope is to try and keep it going at like 2 or 3 episodes a week. But I figured, of course, with obviously no F1 26 coming out this year, an update for F1 25, there's probably going to be no better time than now to try and kickstart this series, and obviously starting with F1 2010. So yeah, if you're new, like I said, please make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to Matt212 Retro. Obviously, we want to try and get that channel to 1,000 subscribers first of all, because obviously, you know, this is my full-time job, and obviously, I want to be able to make a living from this series as well. But yeah, obviously, you can see at the moment, currently we're in the Williams pit garage, but that's not going to be the case with this series. You just have to start a new career mode. But yeah, you basically get thrown into someone else's save to kickstart things as well. So let's head then into the interview room. Holly Samos.
Welcome to Formula One. You must be looking forward to getting your first season underway. Could you please give us a few details for those watching at home?
Well, there we go. I've got to obviously do... Apparently, my name is definitely not Gustavo. So, yeah, I'm going to have to get my keyboard out ready for this one. And there we go. Oh, that's a bit weird. Obviously, the old Windows Live kind of feature inside the game. So, I think, yeah, obviously, my first name is Matt. I don't know whether that's going to, like, break the recording immediately. I might have broke the recording immediately. That's 2 minutes into the very first episode, and I've already broken it. Well, there we go then. There's a little bit of a funky glitch. It is mentioned when you download the mod, but obviously if you want to try and take on this game by yourself, when you go through those interview questions at the start of the game, you actually have to keep the game like windowed mode. You can't run it full screen, otherwise it breaks itself. So yeah, I've gone through, I've done all the setup then, and we have signed with our very first Formula One team. Yes, we are going to be with Hispania Racing Team for this first season. I've selected 7 seasons in this career mode, because ultimately, I don't know how long this is going to take. But obviously, if you want to start with one of the midfield teams, make sure you set it up as either 3 or 5, because then obviously you'll get a slightly better idea, and obviously a few more options inside the game as well. And here we are then, meeting for the first time with our agent, who apparently does not want to give me all her spiel ready for this first season. Taking a look, obviously, at the roster, of course, Red Bull, obviously coming off the back of a runner-up finish in the Constructors in 2009. McLaren, Ferrari, BMW, Sauber, which, of course, wasn't really BMW anymore. Williams, Renault, Force India, Toro Rosso, of course, that's a bit of a throwback. HRT, staggeringly, was actually the first of the 2010 teams to be confirmed into the grid. With Lotus, of course, the return of Mercedes, the first time since the 1950s, and of course Virgin as well in the grid. So yeah, obviously very, very exciting times ahead of us. Obviously taking a look at the World Championship standings, I believe, yeah, Jenson Button obviously will be top of the table as we head into this first season as well. But yeah, I'm going to be running no assists, anything like that, ready for this first campaign as well. But I think we're ready then to head out to Sakir for our very first laps in our Hispania. I believe it was called the F110. Now, obviously, I don't want these videos to be too long inside this game either, so what we're going to be doing for the the games where we've got the option is I'm going to be running 40% race distance. Obviously, when we move up, I believe it's from 2015 onwards, we won't get that option anymore inside the game, so obviously we'll move up to 50% race distance, but I don't actually know what the difference between a short race weekend and a long race weekend is, so I think I'm going to select long, because obviously I still do kind of want that full experience as well. But yeah, like I said, no assists, anything like that. 40% races to kick us off, and the maximum expert AI difficulty as well inside the game. Let's head out then onto the track.
Hi, I'm Rob, your race engineer. I'll be your point of contact whenever you're in the garage or out on track. Let me show you around. Over here you'll find information about the race weekend. You can also skip to future events. It's good to make the most of your practice session, to get accustomed to the track and complete some R&D objectives for the team. Looking at the car monitor provides you with an overview of information relating to the race weekend. Feel free to check it out later when you're ready to go out on the track, or if you want to retire to the paddock, just give me a shout.
Well, there we go then, being introduced to our first engineer inside this game, Rob then with the team as well. So really looking forward to diving into this, but I do just want to double check as well. I can't skip. Now, this is one thing that I think often got forgotten about from a lot of people, but there was actually quite a lot of important stuff to do in free practice back on F1 2010 as well. So we want to actually try and make sure that we complete some objectives around this circuit as well. So we're going to go out on basically a default setup early on. I don't believe, obviously, this car had the option to kind of change the aero or anything like that particularly. So let's just head out then onto the track for the very first time. I mean, look at that. You've even got the option to drive out into separate sectors around the circuit as well. But let's get the tyres on then. This is probably a bit smoother running than I think HRT actually managed in 2010 as well there. But hoping my wheels were working properly. I did set it up a few days ago inside the game as well. It's very slowly out of the pit box as well there. But obviously, if you guys don't remember as well, or just obviously weren't an F1 fan back in the day. Hey, what's my limiter? I don't know what my limiter is. This is a problem. Well, after a few minutes then of tweaking and changing my wheel settings, I think we're ready to go then for our first ever laps in our all-new Hispania racing car, of course. The start of an all-new journey. And do any of you guys remember the original version of Bahrain on F1 2010, of course? This layout, some of you might remember part of it from the 2020 Sakhir Grand Prix as well, but yeah, they basically, for some reason, to celebrate Formula 1's 60th anniversary, is they took us to the endurance layout, with Bahrain, as there you go, that's going to be my first auto spin inside this game as well. Anybody remember just how easy it was to auto spin back on F1 2010 as well there? But obviously, yeah, first couple of corners, completely normal. And then by the time we get up towards turn 4, things are immediately very different to what we're used to, of course. We head up the hill, obviously try to avoid that big curb on the outside there, and then into the chicane that you guys as well might remember from the Bahrain Outer Grand Prix that we got a few years ago. And then we're arcing back round. That corner is incredibly tight, I didn't realise that. Before we've got yet another right-hander as well. And then we're almost back out on towards kind of the normal venue that as well we kind of remember from modern day Formula 1. When this track came in, it was the second longest in Formula 1, only shorter than Spa, but lap times are actually longer than out in Belgium as well. So if I remember correctly, teams like HRT, Virgin, and Lotus were running laps over 2 minutes around here, which in modern day Formula 1 is basically unheard of, unless it's raining. So yeah, a really long lap to obviously try and get used to, a really long lap to obviously try and maximise the car as well. I don't know though how quick the expert AI are going to be inside this title as well. So that's going to be a big old test to try and get used to in these first couple of races. How consistent they'll be as well obviously around modern Formula 1 tracks, you know, kind of where will they be good, where might they struggle a bit more, where will obviously I hopefully be quite good at as well. But I mean, we're already up over 2 minutes and we haven't even made it to the final corner yet, so definitely going to have to keep plugging away. Obviously get some good lap times in, kind of slowly build up the car. But our first ever lap then on F1 2010 is going to be a 2 minute 13.1 there, so we're definitely going to need to find a lot more time. But yeah, this car is an absolute dog in a straight line. 280 kilometers an hour is about 170 miles an hour there, but like I said, hopefully we'll ramp it up a bit more. I'm not going to try and put too much emphasis on free practice in this series as well, because let's be fair, none of us are really that bothered, obviously, about what goes on. But, whoa, maybe, I mean, look at, how weird is it trying to save the car? It just snaps back the other way and over-rotates so much. I'm hoping this is going to be my first clean run then of the session, but already getting a fairly decent idea of kind of how you want to drive on F1 2010. Obviously, it will be interesting kind of going from game to game inside this series as well, but yeah, you've just got to be super smooth with the car. This was another big reason why I wanted to do this series on a wheel as well. Obviously, I already know that pretty much all of the other games will work on wheel already. Maybe F1 2015-16 might be a little bit tricky to try and get fully working there, but up towards the line, that's going to be a 2 minute .1, so a much better lap. But yeah, you've got to be really careful with the curbs. You can brake quite late though with this car into the corners. Of course, you use the engine brake as well. Whoa, but just be really careful on the loud pedal on the exit. It's almost a little bit like F106, where yeah, you've just got to be really careful of where those auto spin curbs are. I don't know why auto spin curbs was such a thing back in the late 2000s into the early 2010s, but they quite clearly were. As can I try and dip into the 159s? That's what I'm going to keep plugging away with. But I might join you guys ready for qualifying. I'm sure some of you will be a little bit disappointed as well, because obviously this remastered mod does kind of take that weird yellow tint out of F1 2010 as well. Personally, I kind of miss the nostalgia of it, but this version of the game does look a whole lot better as well. So yeah, heading out then, ready for Q1. Team's objective this weekend is P20 in qualifying and P18 in the race, but yeah, like I said, obviously my goal is just get through this first weekend, try and learn as much about the car, and obviously the team as we possibly can, as well as the game. Obviously, if we run quite well, then we run quite well. If not, then yeah, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Let's, maybe, just maybe, we can get out of Q1. But I felt like my lap in practice was pretty good, and I'm expecting the AI to get a lot better as well. Would be kind of hilarious, though, if on the maximum difficulty, we ended up winning a championship with the worst car inside this series. That would be quite funny. But Sector 2 is over a minute long around here. That's kind of insane. Well, I'm sure most teams will have had their engines fired up, and obviously we'll be running maximum revs then, ready for qualifying. We don't have that option down at HRT. The only thing I can do is change the wing angle, and even that I'm not even bothering with. We're running the high downforce setup everywhere around this circuit. On the brakes though, ready for turn 1 at the 100 meter board. Their second gear as we try to avoid any wheel spin on the exit. Nice and tidy off of the corner as well there. We've actually got our teammate that's opted to get out on a run. Not too far behind me either, so we'll wait and see as to what his pace is like there. But obviously, being in one of these backmarker cars, you just don't quite get the confidence of what the car's kind of doing underneath you. And, you know, a backmarker car back in 2010, we've kind of been treated in the last few years to just how close the entire field is bunched up. We're not going to get that anymore inside this series. These backmarker cars were atrocious back in the early 2010s as well. So, big snap oversteer there through those next couple of corners, but I don't even know how much fuel we've got on board at the moment either, so we'll have to wait and see about that one. But already, our teammate Bruno Senna actually setting some pretty good times then. He's closed up right to our gearbox so far on this run, as I've got to try and make sure that he doesn't dive bomb us. Can obviously see in the mirrors, but I don't know if there's any detail whether like a car will appear in our mirrors or anything like that either. So again, It is all learning early on. As you do kind of get a weird effect there, you'll have noticed up the hill. Either the car will kind of latch out over the curbs, or it'll kind of bounce away from it. So sometimes you kind of get away with that as well there. But can I see Senna in my mirror? No, I can't. So I could not tell you how close he is. As Adrian Suttle, I believe, has ran a 1:59 as a first benchmark. This has felt like a pretty decent run, though. But yeah, just Senna finding a whole lot more. Is out of the final corner on the run to the line. We do a 57 flat, and Senna didn't get a time in. He went 4th, apparently, despite the fact he gained loads on me. Well, there we go then. On the one hand, I should be very, very happy that we've somehow put the car P3 come the end of Q1. On the other hand, we are in a HRT. That should not really be possible. I don't know how much kind of the AI's pace is going to ramp up as we head into Q2 and into Q3 as well there. But who is out then in that first session? Looks like it's both Toro Rossos, both Lotus, both Virgins, and obviously our teammate Bruno Senna there. So I put 5 seconds on Bruno, despite the fact he kept up with me on the outlap. That's a little bit funky. Oh, looks like the AI are steadily ramping up as well then. Felipe Massa. There you go. Sebastian Vettel's just ran a 56.6. So we're going to need a Herculean effort to try and match that kind of time. But heading out then for our first run in Q2. Hopefully, again, we can try and get a decent time on the board there. I mean, I would not complain if we make it into Q3. The other thing we do have to factor in, though, of course, was the old tyre rules back in the early 2010s. Obviously, most modern Formula 1 fans won't know this, but back, I believe, until 2016, 2017, the tyres you did your fastest time on in Q3, you had to use in the Grand Prix. Then it got tweaked to the fastest tyre you used in Q2, so it obviously basically meant that, you know, some of the top teams would try and gamble and run a harder compound tyre to make themselves, obviously get themselves still into Q3 as well, but yeah, don't obviously know kind of where we're stacking up in the sector split so far. But again, just trying to make sure that I get a good lap on the board. Really starting to build up a little bit of confidence in this car, despite the fact it still isn't particularly inspiring. Making our way then down in towards the final corner once again then. This has felt like a pretty good run. Again, just trying to make sure that I don't get done for track limits. They seem to be fairly strict here in Bahrain, but that's going to be another 57.4. We go P2, 6 tenths up on Lewis Hamilton, but I don't think he's got a particularly good representative in. I'm also slightly concerned. I want to make sure when I get to a right-hander. For some reason, yeah, my driver in the cockpit seems to be... I'm not going to say the word dead, but he seems to just be led on one side, which is probably not great. Clearly the G-forces in this mighty Hispania racing car have done a number on his neck immediately. Oh, there you go. There's our first auto spin as well. We were fractions up through Sector 1, but I think we should hopefully be through anyway. Well, there we go then. Certainly was not expecting this when we came to Sakir, but we go into Q3 then. Sebastian Vettel fastest at the moment, ahead of Hamilton and myself. Felipe Massa in P4. So 4 cars from 4 different teams inside your top 4 there. Looks like Schumacher as well, obviously on his return to Formula 1. Barely squeaking by and into Q3 as well. Actually 7 tenths clear of Vitaly Petrov. So 1 Renault, 1 HRT, both Red Bulls, Ferraris, McLarens and Mercedes into the final session there. As again, I mean, Kamui Kobayashi in a Sauber, not even able to dip into the 159s. I mean, that's pretty cool as well, actually. Obviously, you've got all the different options inside the game. But obviously, look how much stuff you can change, obviously, on these cars. You know, changing the gearbox ratios is a thing of the past now in Formula 1, isn't it? But I'm going to try and make a couple of little tweaks then to the car as well. I was actually looking about where I could change the tyres on it. But, yeah, I think everything else is feeling pretty good. I don't want to make anything too drastic. But there you go. So you can see the team there working on that wing angle, everything like that. But, yeah, let's head out then, ready for our Q3 run. Hopefully, we can try and keep the car in the top 4. But again, I'm still worried the AI is going to get a lot quicker. Well, we're going to have time for 2 laps then here right at the end of Q3. Hamilton has set the benchmark on a 1:56.7. Obviously, so far, it has been him and Sebastian Vettel trading top times early on this weekend. Could those be the two drivers that ultimately battle it out for a World Championship? Let's head out, though, for our first run. Hopefully, we'll obviously keep it clean and tidy there, as that slightly shorter 7th gear hasn't actually given us any more straight line speed in towards turn 1. Thought we might be able to stretch a little bit more out of the car, but it might actually make life quite difficult when we get into race day Sunday, because I expect the AI, obviously, are going to be a lot quicker than us in a straight line there. Braking at the 75-meter board, though, up at the top of the hill. Avoid the bump right on the inside. And again, just trying to throw the car between the curbs up at the top of the circuit. Oh, nice and tidy through that chicane there. And then this double right-hander, super difficult. So obviously try and get the car tilted in where I need it there. These couple of corners as well. Off camber, blind apexes and exits. Can be so tricky to try and get a line nailed. But just be really careful on the throttle on the exit. I mean, in this turn, obviously I was going to say turn 5, turn 6, but of course it's not on this layout. It's about turn 82 and 83 with how many corners are up on that endurance layout. Whose idea was it to run this version of Bahrain in 2010? Because it was utterly ludicrous, only ever used once, and then immediately dropped again. There was a bit of a snap oversteer, luckily able to gather it up by the time we head out onto the back straight. But making our way then down in towards the final few corners. I think we've got a few guys on their outlaps as well. So everybody then getting ready to go for one final run. But obviously, yeah, the option tyre as well will not go that far in a stim. One thing I will say much better about modern day Formula 1, you know, soft, medium, hard, much better than prime and option. Because even to this day, I still kind of forget which one was which. You'd think prime would be like the prime tyre, but you got to remember it's the option you want to pick to try and do one fast lap. 57.8 though on our first run. We will go less than 1/10 of a second out behind Mark Webber, but now we've got someone right up my trumpet by the time we get back down in towards turn 1. So we've got to wait and see whether anybody else is going to be able to improve there. That might be Sebastian Vettel. I just do not know. Of course, this series will provide us with an opportunity to obviously rewrite history. But am I going to get dive bombed somewhere by an AI? That's what I'm trying to be really careful with at the moment. So again, up on those curbs, but we are in the green. Well, I'm hoping, unlike F1 2006, yes, we are still able to finish a run on this game when the clock struck 0. I thought that was the case, that obviously you can finish your lap time that you're currently on, but we were up by a tiny bit in Sector 1. I will say, so far, my consistency seems to be alright, as there goes one of those Red Bulls. Yep, that's Mark Webber then, who's obviously trying to improve, as one of the Ferraris as well, going for a bit of a dive bomb. That's Fernando Alonso. So, I mean, why these guys' lap times aren't registering when they're going much quicker than me, I will never quite know. But 2/10 up then, by the time we get towards the end of Sector 2, this is more the pace I expect to see from the AI when we get into the race there. So I think we're going to see those two potentially improve by the end of the lap. There is another one diving us. Who is that down in the final corner? That's Jenson Button as well. So hopefully we're going to get a bit of a slipstream from him. But Webber goes to the top of the pile. We don't improve. And there you go. Mark Webber snatching it right at the end there, away from Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel there. Alonso Button, not too far behind either. Top 5 separated by just 0.6 of a second. We will line up, though, ahead of Felipe Massa, with both of the Mercedes just ahead of Robert Kubica. But yeah, I think it's a little bit weird with the way qualifying works on this game. Seems like the AI are much quicker when they're not on a run. So I think as we actually head into the race, the AI are going to be a lot quicker than originally expected. Well, here we are then down in pit lane, ready for our first ever race out in Sakir. What are the teams saying when it comes to strategy this afternoon? We will have a look quickly. So apparently we've still obviously got some options. We've got some primes. Don't think we're going to need any intermediates or wets here. There is a 0% chance of rain throughout this race. But the team are saying go to about lap 7 on the option tyre and then take a set of primes to the end. So we'll have to wait and see what tyre wear is like with this car as well. But for the first time ever then on F1 2010, I think we are ready for the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Starter up, car to track. So, your first race. Don't expect to finish at the top of the order. Just try to pick up a few places and get a feel for how the car drives. Good luck.
Well, there we are then. The 5 red lights are on. It's lights out and away we go then for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Always love that kind of little intro cinematic that we got inside the older games. But we are getting absolutely swallowed up down towards turn 1. Look at Vitaly Petrov. What a huge move there at turn 1, as I'm pretty certain Schumacher teleported. Chaos further behind as Kubitsa's gone round. We've span out as well. But what on earth was that down at turn 1? Everybody all over the road there. As we're going to go from 6th on the grid all the way down to P23 off the start of the race. So that has been an absolute disaster for us. Luckily not picking up any damage on the car, but whoa, I got so distracted by, I think it was, yeah, like I said, Michael Schumacher, who just seemingly teleported through turn 1. I was reading online on some old forums. Apparently the AI just occasionally on this game would just fly around corners, so it's something that I'm not very used to with F1 games, because I don't think it was ever really a thing after F1 2010. Maybe, of course, when we get on 2011, that might come back to haunt me there, but Lucas di Grassi, he hasn't had a good start either, but yeah, Robert Kubica, I believe, is out of the Grand Prix. There's another Williams, Rubens Barrichello there, who seems to have ran into some problems as well, but after the car felt fantastic in qualifying, I think we might just be overdriving it a little bit at the start of the race there, as Barrichello trying to go. Don't rejoin into the side of us, thank you. Should be able to clear him, so, well, I was hoping that we could try and pick up some points today, but that might be a lot harder to come by now, and again, we'll wait and see as to what the AI's pace is like around this venue. But like I said, this first race, I'm not really trying to put any kind of major pressure on myself, any real expectation. I just want to make sure that we get to the end and we don't DNF. But I believe the AI, I'm pretty certain, can DNF on this game. I don't think that was impossible. Obviously, Barrichello's still able to limp round, but it's still showing that we're P22 of 24. So I don't know, obviously, whether the game just doesn't kind of remove them from the ranking board as such, or what. We'll have to wait and see as to how we get on, but yeah, with Barrichello into the pit lane then, we are the last of the cars that haven't needed to peel in. 3 seconds back from Lucas di Grassi. But yeah, we need to try and obviously beat Bruno Senna. We still need a top 18, ideally, today, but settling back down into our rhythm. But clearly, new series, Bottle Job 212 is still here. Oh, we got another one gone. One of the Virgins. That was, I think, Timo Glock then, out off in the gravel trap, so no idea what he's done. As the FIA very, very late with the yellow flags on that one. But yeah, Timo Glock, again, another one making errors, so, well, the opening lap and a half here has been carnage. Well, it looks like Glock has been able to get back going again in this race, but I think we've lost more time to Bruno Senna that lap, so he's already down in like the 158s then, by the looks of things. Obviously, I know we can still go quicker than that when we keep it clean and tidy, but it's all about just trying to avoid, you know, getting those little snaps of oversteer and everything like that. With the remastered mod, I believe the AI are way more aggressive, as we saw down at turn 1 with Petrov trying to carve his way through, but oh, we got another one gone. I don't even know who that is. It's Kovalainen out on the off on the outside of the circuit, so yeah, this new endurance layout, people are really, really struggling with around here. It's super bumpy. But yeah, Kovalainen off on the wayside, and we're up back to 20th. Well, already then, the tyre wear starting to look quite aggressive early on in this race. I don't think we want a 2-stop, but a 1-stop might be really quite difficult, as someone there has set a new fastest lap of the day. I don't know who that was. I'm going to try for episode 2, see if I can change some of the audio settings inside the game. The engines are very loud. Great to hear, obviously, the V8s back in the sport as well, but would be nice to actually hear what my engineer is saying with a little bit more ease. Will everybody, though, make it through the end of this first sector cleanly? Looks like everybody has that turn round, but I mean, yeah, we're not that far away from the rest of the pack. Oh, no. Whoa. That's how you gotta save it. Just smash the brake pedal and hope, obviously, that the front end kind of rotates back around. But yeah, I mean, everybody seems to still be fairly bunched up. Not when I do that, though. Again, mash the brake. Normally the front end swings back round to where you want it. Or send us into the pit lane then. That's very, very early from our teammate, but plenty of cars actually peeling in. So I wonder if the two-stop is going to be the way to go then, as we're going to come out just behind, I think, is that a Red Bull? Yeah, I think that's Sebastian Vettel then, who's made his first stop of the day there, as Kovalainen gets around our outside, and, well, I have been debating whether I wanted to pit and put some fresh tyres on anyway. I think we're going to have to at the moment, because we are really, really struggling, as Felipe Massa thinks about having a look up at the top of the circuit as well, but I think a lot... Oh, there you go, Glock's gone round, so that's how the AI keep making mistakes. But yeah, I think it is going to be a two-stop strategy today. Yeah, seem happy with the progress we're making, but we'll bolt on a set of prime, and then we'll try and go to another set of prime for the end, but the fact these tyres are destroyed after just a handful of laps is kind of crazy. But there we go, Michael Schumacher coming back to F1 where he left off, leading the way up at the front of the order then. So clearly Mercedes, they've got some decent tyre wear and good speed in that car. Now, one of the things I've got to remember is we've got to get the car slowed down on pit lane entry. So there we go, pit limiter has been enabled. Yeah, manual pit limiter on this game. And I believe we also had to stop ready for our box as well. So, that's not ideal. I broke too late there. Yeah, I've got to make sure I break earlier then for the pit box next time round. But what is the time going to be in the box? Oh, what's that? 11 seconds. That is brutal. So we are going to re-emerge then, I believe, all the way down in P21. Now, the game does autopilot you for a split second on pit lane exit.
Won't be at optimal grip until they're warm.
Yep, there we go. So I've got to try and obviously make sure that we steadily bring the tyres up. But we need to try and get these to about the end of lap 13 if we can. Lap 12, lap 13. And then hope that we can be quick again towards the end. Seems like the gaps, though, are really, really strung out at the moment. No idea kind of what's going on with the rest of the pack. How far behind everybody am I? We are 9 seconds back as well. That's okay. I thought I saw Senna's dot going through, like, the what is now turn 9, turn 10. Must have been somebody else there, but I got really nervous that we suddenly were like half a minute behind everybody else. Well, I'm so confused what's going on so far in this race. Annoyingly, that slow pit stop for us really has cost us a lot of time against a lot of other people, but I think some people might genuinely be 3-stopping this race. 3, maybe even a 4-stop for a few people. If anybody remembers the 2010 Canadian Grand Prix, that race ended up being absolutely ridiculous and basically left us with the tyre wear problems we're still dealing with to this day. There's no idea what I did there, but the back end just completely going round. I don't know if Petrov is even still in this race, but we're running P19 at the moment. I'm still trying to just make one more pit stop here, but we're just trying to be consistent, but definitely the AI much, much quicker in race pace than qualifying. I mean, some of them are going 5-6 seconds a lap faster than they could manage yesterday. There you go, someone else into the pit lane then. That might have been Rubens Barrichello. So, well, up to 18th again. I mean, that should probably tell you just how crazy this race has become. Adrian Suttel now is leading up at the front of the order. I'm pretty certain Ferrari have pit both of their drivers twice already. So, basically, 50% of the laps so far this race, a Ferrari has come down pit lane. But, yeah, at the moment, though, still hanging on in P18, just ahead of Barrichello. But I'm kind of trying to focus on what our gap is to Bruno Senna up in front. It was about 12-13 seconds, but as long as we can eliminate the errors, I think we are still going a bit quicker than him. Because, yeah, there we go, the gap down to 10.5 now. So, we've definitely got the speed, but it's just the consistency. But that has always been my problem on basically any F1 game. As Barrichello there tries to have a look around the outside. Yeah, I don't think he's really someone that's going to be fighting with too much this afternoon, but I'm also just not going to jump out the way. The Williams wasn't a great car in 2010, though, so we might have a chance. Oh, damn it. There you go. Barrichello's found his way through. So I'm sure he's about to run away from us then, but yeah, when we keep it clean, we are still a good couple of seconds quicker than Bruno Senna each and every lap as well, so we shouldn't hopefully finish last in this Grand Prix. That's kind of again, like I said, goal number 1 is survive. Goal number 2 is try to kind of work out what our actual race pace is like around here. One of the other really, really weird things I've noticed, though, now I know curbs on F1 2010 were incredibly funky, but obviously a lot of them spin you out, so I'm just trying to avoid them. A lot of them seem to have like a magnetic pull, though, for the car. You get near them, and the car kind of gets dragged around a corner. Very, very weird to kind of describe as well, but 7 seconds now, the gap to Bruno up in front. But we're starting to see, obviously, a lot more cars making their second stop of the day. There you go. Apparently, I've just got to force my way past some people, but Adrian Sutil is still leading this race. We could end up with a rather odd first ever winner in this series. Oh, no. Oh, that curb is lethal, man. Keep accidentally trying to attack it, and, well, that time around I knew before I even hit it that we were going to be going for a bit of a spin, but I tell you what, though, tyre wear on these Prime compound tyres seems to be hanging on really, really nicely at the moment. So Bruno Senna peeling back into the pit lane again, so he's obviously on a 2-stop strategy, and we're going to be back ahead of our teammate, at least temporarily, in this race. Do I think we could get these tyres to the end? I'm not really convinced, but yeah, at least, honestly, I'm a little bit happy that clearly our race pace isn't as good as what we saw in qualifying. Otherwise, it would have been not quite what I'd hoped for if we genuinely look like a title threat in literally our first ever season in what should be a rubbish HRT. Well, we are going to peel back into the pit lane then at the end of this lap. Luckily, I've been able to get even my D-pad working with the Fanatec Funky switch, which is fairly cool. I mean, it is quite weird to be driving this old a game with like a modern Formula 1 kind of sim racing steering wheel. So there you go. Oh no! I'm so stupid. We sped up, we slowed down, and then I sped back up again. I don't know when I'm meant to be braking either. I'm gonna guess about there? That's better. There we go. So I've got to brake just as we turn in, I think. And that should hopefully be a much, much quicker pit stop then. 7 seconds. But honestly, for HRT standards, that's probably not the worst thing in the world. Am I going to get a penalty, though? Yes, I am. And I forgot to take the limiter off as well. So I've got to drive through. Oh, man, that's brutal. So I'll have to take that at the end of this lap. And I'm hoping that the team don't think I want to make another pit stop. We're about 10 seconds then behind Bruno Senna as we make our way down in towards the final couple of corners. But I think the most impressive thing is that both of these HRT cars are still running around this circuit. As I've got to remember, slow the car down nice and early and activate the pit lane limiter on the way in there. Is it on? I don't know. How do you know if it's on or not? So confusing. Luckily, doesn't look like any of the team personnel have come out onto the circuit, but Adrian Sutil, looking at that minimap, has got a huge lead. So we're going to deal with that penalty nice and quickly. Luckily, no more drama with that. But yeah, we're going to be a long way behind Bruno Senna towards the end. I've kind of got to hope that one more driver retires or something happens, just so we can still try and get our race objective. Admittedly, we won't really have earned it, but yeah, let's see what the gap is to Bruno by the time I get into Sector 2, because I want to see how much speed we've got over him still by the end of the race. The gap is 22 seconds, so let's see how much I can take out of him in the final 6 laps.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through.
Well, I wasn't expecting to be saying this then. Adrian Sutil, the race leader here of the Bahrain Grand Prix, has lapped us. I don't know how he's managing this. I don't know what strategy he's gone with today. Maybe he's done like a double prime stint or something like that. But Sutil, I mean, he's got like a 10-second gap over anybody else at the moment. Let's not forget, Force India have never won a Grand Prix. It was, I believe, yeah, Giancarlo Fisichella last season that obviously got them that shock pole position at Spa before they'd ever scored a point in Formula 1. But Adrian Sutil is just a couple of laps away from giving Force India their first ever win. And maybe, just maybe this year, they could be a championship threat. Oh, no! Sutil, man. Of course. Soon as I start hyping him up, he's going to peel into the pit lane. I've lost a load of time trying to let him through. But we might still see a few more cars peel into the pits then before the end. But 21 seconds behind Alguersuari. Just trying to keep the car on the road at the moment. But yeah, we're 3 laps from home. Jenson Button now is going to reclaim the lead of the Grand Prix. That seems a bit more realistic. Well, I've never spanned there. Okay, we're learning new curbs. Even late on in the race, we're still learning new curbs that you can't touch inside this game. Some of them will just randomly decide they dislike you now. I know I've made my fair share of errors over the course of today, but yeah, definitely the AI speed way, way better in the races than what we saw in qualifying there. As Button now, oh, we'll make sure I don't crash into him as he broke incredibly early down the end of the back straight. What's he doing? Just go, Jenson. I'm not trying to hold you up or anything, mate. I just want you to get on with it. But just over then, one more lap to go with this race. Unless JB peels into the pit lane, you can see the AI still takes some rather peculiar lines. But yeah, had obviously we not taken that drive-through penalty, had we done a little bit better on the first stop, I think we would have had decent speed here. Never mind a few of the other issues and kind of errors that we've made trying to get used to the new physics, or old physics, I guess I should say, inside this game as well. Bahrain, though, I mean, this version of it is an incredibly punishing circuit anyway, so I'm looking forward, you know, to heading to, like, Albert Park and a few of the other early races of the season as well. I mean, admittedly, despite the fact that we're obviously having to let a lot of cars go, our pace actually hasn't been that bad against Bruno Senna. I think we will be able to hold our own over the course of the campaign, but Jenson Button then, of course, won the World Championship with Braum, that fairy tale, in 2009. He signed with McLaren, ready for 2010, and it looks like the fairy tale is set to continue for Button. Well, in this first race there, got to be very, very careful over that curb, but yeah, as the fuel burns off, though, hopefully we're going to get a decent last lap in. I mean, you can see just how much the AI pull away. Button's gone! Yeah, so clearly, yeah, the AI struggle with qualifying pace, but have a lot more race pace. Yep, team moaning about the engine temperature as well, but honestly, for HRT, the fact we've got both cars to the checkered flag, or hopefully, is probably quite a good sign in of itself. We have very, very good one-lap pace, but I feel like I've learned a lot as we've made our way through the race as well. But Jenson Button, though, on this bizarre Bahrain layout. I kind of forgot about this layout, to be honest, or I certainly forgot just how bad and janky it was on F1 2010 as well. But at least the mods worked pretty well. Certainly has led to quite an interesting race there. A lot of different leaders. As we'll go for one more pirouette for style points right towards the end as well. Who's that going to try and lap us then? Cannot work it out. Well, that is... Come on, just get around us. It is Hamilton. So McLaren then, out of the final corner goes Jenson Button. It is going to be a 1-2 for McLaren here in Bahrain. That clearly sets a precedent for every other team this season, that they are a force to be reckoned with. Out of the final corner, we're the only driver to get lapped in the end, but our first ever race, we've survived, and honestly, I'm pretty happy.
A slightly disappointing result, but at least we got to the end. Well done.
Well, there we are then, having a look at our final race results. Jenson Button will claim victory, 9 seconds clear of Lewis Hamilton, but Adrian Sutil on the podium for Force India as well. A brilliant job done by him. Pedro de la Rosa got 6th for BMW Sauber from 17th on the grid as well, so an incredibly mixed up race when all is said and done. But 2 Brits followed home by 2 Germans and then 2 Spaniards, and then both of the Red Bull men inside your top 8. Felipe Massa didn't quite get the ideal strategy down in P9, and Rosberg means that both Mercedes, on their return to Formula 1, pick up points as well there. Kobayashi narrowly missed out ahead of Nico Hulkenberg. Kovalainen was the best of the new teams down in P14, just ahead of Jarno Trulli there. Lucas Di Grassi, Jaime Alguersuari jumping Bruno Senna on that last lap as well. And like I said, we were the only driver 1 lap down. Vitaly Petrov, Sebastian Buemi, Timo Glock, and Viantonio Liuzzi are the only drivers that failed to see the checkered flag. Oh, obviously Robert Kubica as well. down in 24th, obviously with that incident on lap 1. But what a race. Drivers' Championship, of course, exactly the same as your race results. So Jenson Button, after winning 2009, does not want to relinquish that World Championship lead that he's held, obviously, since the start of that season. Constructors-wise, though, we are ahead of Renault. I guess we'll take it. There's only 6 teams able to score points this weekend. McLaren, though, lead the way ahead of Force India and Mercedes there. Ferrari ahead of Red Bull and BMW Sauber. How many teams will score points though this season? That is a whole nother question. Thank you all so much for watching though. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns to the Australian Grand Prix.